Hi everybody, I'm Marie.Jenkins from Advance Your Wellbeing and welcome to our October speaking newsletter. So each month in our newsletter we share our tips and tricks for personal wellbeing and personal development. And so each month we have a topic which we explore further. Which I'll talk about in a few minutes. And we also share our 5 ways to wellbeing journey. As well as this, you can also go and read our newsletter on our LinkedIn page, or if you prefer, you can listen in on our podcast channel, which is The Secret Diary of Marie Jenkins 47 plus. So you can now get our newsletter direct to you in 3 different ways and the way that you prefer. So our topic of the month for October is about mentoring. Now we're concentrating on mentoring, and you can watch a number of our videos on our YouTube channel for mentoring. And if you go to our LinkedIn newsletter, you can find all of the links that I'm going to discuss today on there. So please subscribe and you will get your monthly notifications of when it is released. So mentoring is something that has been hugely valuable to me in my life, both when I was at university and also in business. And I'm interested to learn from you how you have found mentoring yourself. It's fantastic that mentoring can be that person that can help you make those next steps and give you that additional confidence. And it's different to coaching, because mentoring is about having somebody who can give you the advice, give you those fantastic introductions. And if you want to find out a bit more about how mentoring can help your organisation, we will be having our interactive 2-hour workshop, which is always on the first Thursday of the month at 2:00. And you can find out more information by visiting our website. So our topic is on mentoring through October. So keep an eye out on our various social media channels for tips, tricks. Our blog also comes out on the second Wednesday of the month, where you can read our article, and it will be specifically on mentoring October. But there's a lot of other interpersonal skills blogs on there that you might find useful, either for yourself personally, for your own well-being, or for that of your organisation in which you work. So moving on from there, I'm going to talk to you about our 5 ways to wellbeing journey. So each month I share an update on each of those elements of the 5 ways to wellbeing, which are keep learning, connect, be active, take notice, and give back. So I'm just going to talk you through each of those elements and what we've been doing. So on the first element, which is keep learning, I was wondering, are you a prolific reader? Reading has been especially important to me through running my business, learning from others, what they've experienced, or just to improve my own personal development for interpersonal skills. And I think it's a fantastic way of upskilling and educating yourself, whilst also practicing self-care, because whilst you're reading and immersed in a book, you're spending time for yourself. And in September, I read an incredible book, which I'd love to share with you today. And it's called Atomic Habits by a gentleman called James Clear. Now, I took a lot from this book. And in terms of the Atomic Habits, it's ultimately lets you know how you can break bad habits, but also form more positive new ones. And it's definitely worth a read. And who knows, you might learn something new from it and improve your well-being as a result of forming those new habits. So in terms of keep learning, one of the elements of the 5 ways to well-being, I would suggest pick up a book and learn something new. And for me, my recommendation is The Atomic Habits by James Clear. So now I'm going to move on to the second element, which is connect. Now, during the summer, I took the decision to scale back on my work commitments. Now, that is the beauty I appreciate of being your own entrepreneur. You get to choose what hours you work, and you're able to be flexible around your other interests and commitments. So for me, I do volunteering in 2 different capacities, one through the Careers and Enterprise Company as an enterprise advisor in schools, and the other one is through Extra Care Longbridge Village, where I volunteer in the gym. So having that flexibility is fantastic for me. And I also had a week out of work whereby I went and visited excuse me, Hale, which is a place that I've been visiting now for over 25 years. Now, some people might think, why would you return year after year to the same place? And it's a bit, when I was reflecting on that, it's a bit like what I was saying earlier about the Atomic Habits book. It's about forming new habits, and it makes your life so much easier to plan. So every year I know where I'm going, where I'm staying, and it's the most beautiful place in the world, and it's fantastic for my well-being. So absolutely, I shall continue to return there, and it's a really positive habit to have, I believe. But in terms of like the connect element of the 5 ways to well-being, for me, it is an opportunity to reconnect with some of the fantastic people I've met in Cornwall over those 25 years. And we stay at a fabulous place called St Ives Bay Resort, which is in Hale, which has 3 miles of absolute gorgeous sandy beaches. It's the most picturesque place with a lovely view over at St Ives Bay and Carbis Bay. So it's absolutely worth me going and reconnecting with all the lovely staff and team at St Ives Bay Resort. And they make my visit there so much more special. So it was great to reconnect. Now, while I'm on the element of talking about my holiday in September, I'm going to move on to the next element of the 5 ways to well-being, which is about being active. Now, many of you will have heard or read from my previous newsletters that I had a big birthday, the 5-0 in August, which was fantastic. And so every week now I've challenged myself to try something new and push myself out of my comfort zone. So one of those weeks fell obviously while I was away. So I was thinking, what could I do? Now, I've been watching a lot of the TV channels of the holidays around the UK, and a lot of people I noticed had been doing surfing, paddleboarding, all of those type of things, making use of the environment that was around them on that coastline of the UK. So I thought, right, I'm going to try windsurfing. Now, my children have grown up in those 25 years of visiting Cornwall in going in the sea and bodyboarding and surfing and all of that. For me, I used to love reading a book on the beach. So I thought, I'm going to try my hand at surfing. So we went to, in St Ives Bay Resort, there is actually a surf school, which the staff there were fabulously helpful, because we managed to hire the wetsuits, we managed to get advice on what sort of boards to use, and some guidance about the safety. And obviously for Cornwall, we're extremely fortunate because we have the RNLI lifeguards that look after our beaches and look after us while we're on holiday. So I felt confident about giving it a try because I'd got all the right kit, and I knew that we was going to be trying surfing in a safe place overlooked by the RNLI lifeguards. So I felt confident. Now, how good I was going to be was another thing, but it actually was fantastic. There was huge swells. Now, I know Cornwall is predominantly known as surfing for Newquay. So many people, if you're going to go surfing, they ultimately go to Newquay. In a recent TV program that I watched, we actually learned that Hale is actually the better place for waves. In fact, one of the biggest waves that were caught was on that coastline of those 3 miles stretch of sand in Hale, which was right next to Godrevy Lighthouse, which you can walk to along the beach. So actually the swells were fantastic, and I tried my best. So I didn't actually manage to stand up, but what I did notice was that I had a fabulous workout. Now, I could certainly feel it the next day, and that was because of the undercurrents in the sea and just, the pure act of trying my best to surf was a fantastic workout for me. And it was my first try, so I was happy with what I achieved. But I'm definitely going to give it another go next time we go. And it's just such fun. I mean, my daughter was incredible. And obviously she's a lot younger than me, but yeah, it's so much fun and such a good workout. I'm definitely going to do it again. So in terms of being active, my question to you is, what are you going to try that could help improve your physical health? So moving on to the next element of the 5 ways to well-being is about taking notice. Now, mindfulness, or taking notice, however you want to describe it, is about taking time to notice and live in the present. So while away in Cornwall, I celebrated my 10th year wedding anniversary, which I was surprised to learn is actually tin. Now, how funny that I should be celebrating, or we should be celebrating our 10th wedding anniversary of tin while I was out walking with my dog across an old tin mine. Now, for those people that have visited Cornwall a lot, you will already know about the huge past and history around mining in Cornwall. And obviously many people have watched Poldark. But how fantastic, and what a lovely mindful thing that on my actual anniversary, which was 10, I was in a county that actually had a huge rich history in tin mining, and that was lovely. And it was right next to the beach as well. So in terms of taking notice, I did lots of sort of sitting in the sand dunes and reflecting and relaxing, which obviously holidays are there for that. But it was also good to have the high adrenaline things like surfing too. But whilst I was sat on the beach, I did do some beach combing, and I managed to find a most beautiful piece of driftwood, which I've since brought home and created a lovely ornament to mark my anniversary of the 10 years of our marriage. And yeah, so we've put it up in the garden, and it's a lovely keepsake. And I think in terms of take notice, it's a nice thing to have, to be able to look at and reflect on, to think, for my anniversary, I was there and this came from there. So it was lovely, really. But I think it's useful to ask yourself, what are you thankful for? And what are you grateful for that can improve your emotional wellness? For me, it was sitting on a beach, reflecting at the beautiful landscapes. For you, you know, it could be anything, but taking time to be mindful and take notice can massively improve your well-being. And for me, on my anniversary with my husband, sat on the beach, it was just beautiful. So on to my next element of the 5 ways to well-being, and that is about giving back. Now, many of you, as I've already mentioned, will know that I volunteer. And then I thought, well, what, other than my volunteering, because I have spoken a lot about it, what other things do I do in my life whereby I give back? Now, we're coming into, well, we are actually in autumn now. And so what I decided in September was to have a really good tidy up of my house. So I had a clear out of my wardrobe, I had a clear out of my shoe boxes. And it's amazing how many things you keep, and then you find them and think, well, would I wear that? Or, you know, is it something that I still would like to wear? And are they comfortable? And all of these different things. So I had a real good clear out in September in preparation for autumn coming, getting my winter wardrobe ready and thinking, what from my summer wardrobe could I donate to my local charity shop? So where I live in Rubery, Worcestershire, we have a huge array of fantastic charity shops. So there's Age UK, there's PDSA, which is like an animal charity. And there's also, which I really like, a local animal sanctuary charity shop, which has an animal sanctuary in the Tardybig area over by Bromsgrove. So I do tend to go into them all. So when I was sorting through my clothes, I tried to do it so that I could give something to each of those charity shops. But it's so good, because from your own well-being, when your home is tidy, your mind is tidy. So in terms of giving back, that's what I wanted to mention. Autumn time, coming into winter, how about having a tidy up of your wardrobe, sorting out your clothes, and the fantastic result is that you get a tidy home. So those are my 5 ways to Wellbeing Journey for October. So housing news, moving on. We've got a new Prime Minister, I'm sure we're all aware, Liz Truss. And I was interested to see who we was going to get appointed as the new Secretary of State for levelling up housing and communities. Because as I've mentioned on previous newsletters, is that we have seen a huge change in terms of the numbers of housing ministers we've had in the past. So I was interested to find out who we have, and I believe we now have the Right Honourable Simon Clarke MP, who is going to sort of lead that team in terms of what this means for social housing is yet to be seen. I'm hopeful and positive that he will have a clear vision and purpose and have a positive impact on social housing. We will just have to watch this space to see what comes next. And also, obviously, with the reshuffle, the cabinet reshuffle, in terms of our education news for this month, we have Kit Malthouse. Now, as I already discussed housing ministers, Kit Malthouse was previously the housing minister, and now we have him as our new education minister. So I'm interested in terms of careers, whether he will still continue with the priority of careers for young people. And I'm hopeful that the Careers and Enterprise Company will continue to receive their funding, because they've done some amazing work for pupils in preparation for their next steps. So, yeah, Kit Malthouse is our new education minister, and we could do with some stability. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So before I wrap up my newsletter, I just wanted to give a mention. Season 2 of our podcast, The Secret Diary of Marie Jenkins 47 Plus, is still available for you to catch up on. So you can tune in on Anchor, Spotify, or Apple. Or if you prefer, you can watch it on our YouTube channel by subscribing. And it's been a fantastic season. So we have 4 distinct topics. We have business startup, we have education, housing, and well-being. So if you've got an interest in any of those areas, each week through the season, we release a new episode, so you can go back and catch up with them. And I'd like to say a huge thank you to our wonderful listeners that have been extremely loyal, and we're delighted that the audience has continued to grow week on week, even though we're over a month since we wrapped up our wonderful season 2. So big thank you to our listeners, and if you're new to our podcast, let us know what you think. We'd love to hear your views, especially in terms of what we would cover in season 3. So that's our newsletter for October. I hope you found something in there that you enjoy. Please go and click on some of the links that I've mentioned on our LinkedIn newsletter. There's something in there for everybody, whether it's tips, tricks, or just something that might inspire you to improve your well-being. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll see you again at the end of October for our November newsletter. And in the meantime, if you need any help with interpersonal skills in your organisation or need to improve your own personal well-being, then get in touch with us by sending us a direct message. I'm Marie Jenkins. This is Advance Your Wellbeing's Advanced Speaking newsletter. Thanks, and we'll see you next month.